play one of the promises made by Chandrababu Naidu. One of his spokespersons told us, Ramon Rao, no U-turn on the 4% Muslim quota promise. This is a promise that was made during the campaign. Listen in to what was said.
4% मुस्लिम कोटा आंध्र प्रदेश में आप लोगों का बड़ा कैंपेन था इस पे, और जो जिस तरह का मैंडेट आया उससे लगता है कि सारी कम्युनिटीज ने आपको वोट डाला है। बीजेपी कहती है इस तरह के कोटा नहीं होना चाहिए, क्या आपको यू टर्न लेंगे अपने स्टांस में?
नहीं, इसमें तो कोई अभी किसी तरह का डिस्कशन नहीं हुआ, और क्योंकि ये पहले भी नहीं हुआ, इलेक्शन से पहले भी हमारे जो आंध्र का डिस्कशन था, कॉमन डिस्कशन, उसमें नहीं हुआ और अभी तक नहीं आया। तो मेरा मानना ये है कि ये शायद ना आए। हम ज्यादा कोशिश ये डेवलपमेंट और प्रोग्रेस के ऊपर रखेंगे।
यू टर्न नहीं होगा?
यू टर्न जरूर नहीं होगा।
You know, the question therefore arises, will there be a dial down on Hindutva politics? Ashok Malik, will there be a dial down? I'll get all of you on that. Will there be a dial down, Ashok Malik?
Rajdeep, of the three within double quotes contentious issues of the Vajpayee era, Article 370 is part of history now. That happened 5 years ago, and Kashmir, I believe, is in a better position now, but that's besides the point. It's Article 370 is history. The Ram Mandir has been consecrated. It's a reality. That leaves us with the Uniform Civil Code, or I would say specifically a modernization of family and personal laws of all communities, and a modernization of inheritance laws across communities that is more gender equitable. I certainly think there is a case to build a consensus in the country on those issues.
But the key word you mentioned, Ashok, sorry to intervene, the key word you mentioned is consensus. The difference now is, unlike in the past where you could ram it through Parliament, reduce Parliament to a notice board.
Two things.
Now you'll have to take people along on every issue you take up.
Two things. I recognize that. Two things. The Prime Minister, while speaking today to the NDA Parliamentary Party, said that to win an election, you need a majority. But to actually run a country, you need unanimity and consensus. I think he used that word in Hindi. Okay, yes. So he is conscious of that. He was trying to signal he's conscious of that. And two, yes, it's an unfortunate reality that in any democracy, including India, when a party has a majority, it does not see value in parliamentary discussion. It's an unfortunate reality. While when you have a coalition government, you tend to see value in the parliamentary committee system. Vajpayee did, Narasimha Rao before him did, and I am sure.
So we will have finally a functioning parliament. You're suggesting your hope is, the reality is we'll have a functioning parliament where the committee system, for example, will finally start functioning.
I certainly hope that happens, and for that to happen, the government will have to reach out, but the opposition will also have to reciprocate.
You know, that's a good point, because Pavan Verma, the feeling is the opposition certainly, just as Mr. Modi seemed to be this domineering figure, the feeling was a section of the opposition, particularly the Congress, never got used to the fact that Mr. Modi is Prime Minister for such a long period. So there was a feeling of non-cooperation. Will that change, or do you believe with so many numbers in Parliament, the opposition, if anything, will get even more aggressive now? They will try to gear out the Prime Minister. Already they're talking of a demand for a JPC on an alleged stock market scam.
Frankly, Rajdeep, I don't see the bitterness reducing. In fact, it's time for the opposition to say that now our voice matters. But I hope that does not happen. When Pranab Mukherjee was the leader of the House, when the UPA was in power, his Minister of Parliamentary Affairs, of State for Parliamentary Affairs, once told me that Pranab Babu told him that if I see you on the treasury side of the benches, I'm going to dismiss you. Go and establish links with the opposition. So, building a consensus is a two-way attempt, where this time the government will have to reach out to the opposition, because in due course, its managed majority in Rajya Sabha after these elections will also reduce and certainly may not be dominant.
No, but will the opposition, if Mr. Modi reaches out, will the opposition be willing to reach out also? ताली दो हाथ से बजती है.
I think that, no, you are right. Perhaps yes and perhaps no, because for the last 10 years, the opposition has believed that it has been ridden roughshod on. Now, as against 240 odd MPs on the BJP side, there are 235 opposition MPs as well. So, I don't know what will happen. Our parliament is not the best model of consensual functioning, but I know this much. The responsibility to run the house lies with the treasury benches, and therefore they will have to have far wider behind the scene consultations.
In fact, that's a good point, because one of the key ministries
for not happening earlier.
One of the key ministries being looked at is parliamentary affairs. What kind of a parliamentary affairs minister will we have? Someone who's able to reach out across the aisle or not? I just want to also play Prashant Kishore, the political strategist who worked with Mr. Modi in 2014. Rahul Kanwal and I interviewed him, and we asked, can this government last 5 years? Does he believe Mr. Modi can make the transition to being a coalition builder? Listen in to what he had to say. So you think this government will last 5 years?
No. I'm saying the crucial next step is the next 3 state elections. And the good thing about for
Maharashtra,
opposition is
Haryana, Jharkhand.
Yes. Good thing about for opposition is in those 3 states BJP is on back foot as of now.
नहीं तो उसी को एक सेकंड स्पेंड करते हैं.
एक मिनट खाली मैं ये कह रहा हूं, क्योंकि देखिए पूरे रिजल्ट से हुआ क्या है. नंबर में कोई बदलाव नहीं है, सरकार उनकी बनी है. आप देखिएगा सारे की मिनिस्ट्री वगैरह सब की डिसीजन मेकिंग सब उनके हाथ में ही रहेगा. पीएमओ वुड बी ऑलमोस्ट एज स्ट्रांग एज इट वाज. बट जो मोदी की एक इनविंसिबिलिटी वाला ऑरा था, उसको बड़ा धक्का लगा है. और जो ऑपोजिशन में है, जो उनसे लड़ना चाह रहा है, उसको एक चीज आया है कि भाई स्टेट में नहीं, मतलब लोकसभा में भी इनको हरा सकते हैं. क्योंकि अभी तक क्या था, ये स्टेट में भले हार जाए, जब व्हेन इट इज ऑन द टिकट ऑफ मिस्टर मोदी एवरीवन वोट्स फॉर हिम, सो यू कैन नॉट डिफीट हिम, चैलेंज हिम इन लोकसभा. वो कॉन्फिडेंस ऑपोजिशन को आया है, वो ठीक बात है, उनको धक्का लगा है, देयर चिप्स आर डाउन. बट फॉर पीपल, द हार्डकोर पॉलिटिशियंस टू एक्ट ऑन इट, दे विल नीड 1 or 2 more राउंड्स ऑफ कंफर्मेशन. आप महाराष्ट्र हार जाओ तो आप नायडू और नीतीश की बात कर रहे हैं. आई वुड रादर लुक एट एकनाथ शिंदे 7 MPs where they will go.
You know, there you have Sumant Raman, Prashant Kishore throwing up an intriguing prospect. The prospect that he believes Modi's invincibility is over, the aura of invincibility, and those state elections will be crucial. That's the moment when we will know whether this government will last 5 years or could well be see turmoil in 2025.
Look, Radip, implicit in that statement of Prashant Kishore, if the results of the state elections go against the BJP in all the 3 states, there will also at some point start to be voices within the BJP that start speaking up. Now, all our talk is limited to the alliance partners and how they will behave and so on. But if 3 states are lost badly, particularly, if Maharashtra and Haryana are lost badly, as you know, at the moment, that's how it seems, but it's too early. But still, if that happens, there will be people who will start asking questions. There will be people in the RSS who may start asking questions. So it's very simplistic for us to say.
Do you also believe brand Modi has taken a hit? Do you believe brand Modi has taken a hit?
I think that the peak of his popularity is behind him. Now, can it be resurrected? I don't believe that that's possible. But with the fact that he still remains by far the most popular leader in the country, how much longer can he string this out on the basis of his personal popularity is what I see as a challenge before him. But if they lose in the state elections badly, there will be voices within the BJP which will start to ask questions again.
Nilanjan Mukhopadhyay, as someone who tracked him in those years, did you ever get a sense that Mr. Modi wants to retire from public life? There's always been this speculation. He turns 75 next year. Will he walk away into the sunset? Or do you believe that's wishful thinking of all his critics? Modi ji is going nowhere.
Very difficult to make a forecast, but the way people in his party reacted when Arvind Kejriwal threw that issue in the open and made a statement that this is actually a election being fought to make Amit Shah the Prime Minister after Mr. Modi turned 75. I do not think that there is an immediate possibility of him, walking into the sunset in the 17th of September 2025. But there's one issue which I am actually very worried about. Worried in the sense that from Mr. Modi's perspective of the coalition being stable, that what does Mr. Modi do about his political vocabulary? If you look at all elections right from 2000 to 2024, each and every elections, one factor which has been behind the victory of the BJP has been Hindutva-centric issues. In elections where Mr. Modi's charismatic presence would be required, he'll have to actually win elections to be able to regain the political clout which he had, to ensure that his aura is back once again. It's his natural instinct, I'm using the word instinct once again, that to make certain statements which actually polarize the electorate. He said he did it very seamlessly even in the 2024 elections. That is what I feel, that this kind of politics, that kind of language is actually almost become his second nature. Would he be able to control that? And by controlling that, would he be able to regain the BJP's domineering presence in these states? Very rightly, Prashant Kishore pointed out that Maharashtra, Haryana and Jharkhand are problematic. In Haryana, in the region of Nu, last year, just before the G20 summit, there was a major communal polarization, started by a lot of people connected to the fraternity of the BJP, the Sangh Parivar. During the Haryana elections, would there be a similar effort? Would any of the central leaders or any of the state leaders make any polarizing statements, divisive statements? Would it be controlled by Mr. Modi so that the allies don't get upset? Mr. Naidu might get upset. Nitish Kumar also still nurtures hope of getting the support of some of the Muslims back. Would they allow that? Or, so these are actually
I'm reaching
the biggest worries.
You raise legitimate concerns. You raise legitimate concerns, but the good news is that the very fact that we are talking about this kind of coalition politics, the very fact that we are talking about consensus building, suggests just what this election verdict has done. This is an extraordinary verdict which in a way has said, yes, we want Mr. Modi to continue as Prime Minister, but a controlled Mr. Modi, a checked Mr. Modi, and we also want a strong and robust opposition. And perhaps that's the verdict that both the government and the opposition will have to accept and work upon. How they work upon it may well shape how Indian politics plays out over the next 12 months. We are in for very interesting times, I can tell you. When you move from a dominating government to a milli-juli sarkar, the very narrative, the very lexicon of Indian politics starts changing. Then you have to start being more accommodative and perhaps less authoritarian and autocratic. Think about it. Thank you all to my guests for joining me in what was, for a change, a discussion on TV without noise.